So, yesterday I was talking to a girl on Hinge, an online dating app. She's 22, which is a bit younger than I usually shoot for, but we matched and we started talking, and she seemed pretty cool, pretty cute. And the subject kind of rolled around to the subject of what we're both going to be doing in the future, and I mentioned how I was planning on having kids. It does say so in my profile. And she mentioned how she was going to wait until her 30s and then she was going to adopt children. Right now, she doesn't want kids because it would mess up her lifestyle, which, fine. 22-year-old, can't blame her. She's got things she wants to do. But she would rather never get pregnant and rather adopt children in her 30s. So, this is a common theme. I've ran into this belief in a lot of women. So many women that it's surprising to me. It's it's unexpected. And when I talk to people that are much older, they don't seem to understand it. It seems like this is new, right? This is a new kind of belief set. It seems like in the past there was a time when women were excited to have children, where that was kind of a goal. And now we live in a world where, I'm not saying all women, I'm just saying that it is a common theme. At least to the women I talk to, I don't have a proper sample size. I can't tell you that I've measured this scientifically or anything, but it's a thing I run into all the time. All the time. It's like, I don't want kids, I want to have money, and I want to have experiences, and I want to have the freedom of not having kids. And then, if kids, then adoption, right? I'd rather not have pregnancy because that does damage to the body, right? I've heard that a lot of times. And I mean, yeah, having a baby is physically demanding during the process and for the year or two afterwards, while that baby is basically a extremely independent little or extremely dependent little human. That's what I mean. Being a mother is not easy. It's tough because I know that if I fell in love and she fell in love with me, that there would be romantic feelings and sexual energy of a kind, and it would I get the sense that the biological would change the rational, the underlying biological instincts would eventually override the rational decision making of the human that I'm in a relationship with. I sort of believe that, I've said this in other places, I think we're not as in control of our thoughts as we think we are. I think we the concept that you're a driver in the vehicle of your body is, well, that's a big subject. What I'm trying to say is that I get the sense that if I did get into a relationship with this girl, this 22-year-old, her mind would change before she got to 30 and she would want kids at some point. I would bet money on that. But, if I'm gonna, I don't want to waste my time. You know what I mean? I don't want to get into a relationship with her. She turns 24, 25, she's not changing her mind. Then she turns 26, 27, still not changing her mind. And now I'm like, well, fuck. I have spent all these years with this girl and she's not going to give me children, so I really want children. That's something I've been focused on for a few years now. I decided at some point that it's the right thing to do, Biologically, as an animal, I'm built to do this. That's my driver in life. And if you think about it, I mean, all of my ancestors going backwards had kids. I'd be the only one in my entire lineage to not have children. So, and so would she. You know what I mean? It's like, so I'm wondering, like, where does this come from? Why are there so many women who don't want kids? Like, what is happening? What happened? You know, I've been in conversations with people that are like between 60 and 80, right? Recently. And I was just talking to them about it. And yeah, there's like a cultural expectation that they grew up with. The women all grew up in a society that it was very much expected. You turn a certain age, you get married, you have kids, and you become like the housewife narrative is kind of like it's a thing. And I think that, you know, if I had to take a guess at this, it's hard for me to understand what it is, but it really seems like there's a fear or kind of like a disgust or some sort of rejection of the possibility of having children and being dependent on a husband, having a baby that is dependent on you. And then since you're now in a vulnerable state, I mean, for the first year of having a child, you're vulnerable, right? Because you have to spend a lot of time with that baby, and it really helps to have a stable relationship with somebody, you know what I mean? And so that makes you dependent on a man, and there is a strong urge for independence and, you know, freedom, which, like, I totally get that. That's exactly how I am, but I totally understand that. I just, I think having kids is one of the, I mean, you talk about happiness, you talk about experience, what can possibly be a higher goal than raising a good person, right? You're creating people. And what if you had the ability to create amazing people? What if you and your partner were good parents? What if you were very competent and capable of raising and teaching a good person for the world? Like, if I had a kid right now, by the time they're 25, you know, we're going to be living in a world where there's going to be, I mean, who knows what the world's going to look like? There's going to be like AI and rocket ships. People will be living on Mars. You're going to have metaverse. Half of the kids are going to be stuck inside virtual reality. We're going to have, you know, assuming that the US survives past whatever civil war is coming, then we're going to live in some sort of hopefully we'll be living in like a post-woke era, you know what I mean? It'll be we have to be past whatever conflict is happening now by then. We have to be past this kind of tension. We must, either the world blows, either we're, anyway, the kids that I raise right now will need to be ready for that, for whatever that world's going to look like. And I can't think of a more exciting challenge. I can't think of a higher thing to work towards than to create a human being that will be capable of surviving the landscape that's ahead of us. I can't think of a better thing to do, and I think I can, in the position I'm at right now, I think I can handle quite a few kids. Like, I wouldn't mind having 7, you know, I wouldn't mind having tons of them, like classic, you know, I'm like out in this kind of semi-rural area, mostly rural, and, you know, this is going to look a lot like a classic sort of homestead, little farm kind of thing going on, a little ranch family, but maybe it's because I'm a person who feels like I need a goal, I need a higher ideal to strive towards, and I wouldn't mind dedicating my entire life to supporting a wife and a bunch of kids. Like, that would just be I wake up every day and it'd just be the thing I do, and it would just keep me motivated. I could do that for decades and be happy. I just know that. I know that about myself. I know that. If I have something to do, something to work on that's meaningful, that keeps me happy and it keeps me going, and it'd be the only thing I'd think about. I just wake up and do it every day. You know, once in a while I'd go hang out with friends or do something else, but just to take a break, because you need to take a break. Even God took a break 1 day out of 7, you know? So, which is why I think that, again, I sound like a conservative guy in this video, I think, but the reason that God takes a break on Sunday, I think, is because in the story, the person reading the story needs to understand that taking a break actually makes you more productive. Like, there's actual science to back up the fact that working every single day of the week makes you less productive. So, it's not like you dedicate your entire life, 100% of your hours to a single thing. You need to look away from that thing once in a while. So, I wanted to make that clear. But, anyway, why is it that I feel this way? How come I have arrived at this conclusion? Like, if you had asked me when I was 22, I would have said, fuck no, I'm not having kids ever. Like, that's what I would have said. And then somehow, between 22 and 28, I have changed my mind completely. And so, can I expect that to happen to a 22-year-old girl right now? Can I expect her to follow the same series of thoughts as me? Do I just need to meet a girl who's already followed this series of thoughts and who's already come to this conclusion? I know there's women out there who want kids. I know it's a thing. The problem is the ones that I meet that want kids are not the ones I want to have kids with. That's another conflict. It's like, I think part of what's going on here is I am attracted to women who are kind of independent, I'm attracted to women who don't want kids. That's my problem. Also, I haven't been looking in the right places. I know this. Still, though, there's a fear of it. I think that there's like a fear of pregnancy. I've run into that, like an actual... it's kind of terrifying, and I get it, but it's like, you're also built to do it. Like, your mother did it, her mother did it, and her mother did it. All the mothers going backwards from you did it. You will survive it, most likely, given modern technology and all this. But it's going to be painful and uncomfortable, and it does put some wear and tear on certain parts of your body. So, But it's not, it's funny. It's not like the man in the relationship doesn't have wear and tear on his body from similar things, right? Like, my whole life is going to have to be working on this house and building new things on this land and tending the land, basically. Tending the metaphorical crops. Even if that means sitting at a computer writing software. Like, that puts wear and tear on your body in a different way, but I'm not complaining. I'm not. I really think the statement that, like, the women are correct. That's how I see this, right? Like, women are right by definition. The way that they're selecting men is correct. So, it's up to me to modify myself to match what they want, basically. And the thing is, all women want different things, so I guess it's, I can't sit here and think of women as one unit, which is what I did in a couple of videos ago. I am seeking a particular kind of woman who I know exists. And I know I've made a video exactly like this before, I think, but this is just what's on my mind this morning. What am I, 15 minutes in? Okay, I'm gonna go to a completely different subject. I'm done with that one. I wanted to throw out an update about my stance on LGBT, because this is kind of the same subject. I've talked about homophobia and the necessity of shame, really. I think we do need shame on gay men. We need to shame them into having stable relationships. Stable, happy, stable, honest relationships. Where they, we need to shame out the behavior where it's one guy fucking 100 other guys, or it's 1,000 guys all fucking each other. Really, if you look at places, again, I always go back to the West Hollywood thing, but it's like thousands of men all fucking each other in one city constantly. Like, that's what we need to shame out of people. What we need to shame into people is, hey, form a stable, happy, honest relationship and maybe raise some kids. That's what we need. I think the societies that, it's like, what are we gonna do if people aren't having kids? Like, I know that it's like weird how people don't believe this, but we are truly headed for a population crash. The first world countries like the US, a lot of the Western countries, but a lot of the rich countries, basically, this is happening in Japan too. It's like we're not having enough kids. We're not even having enough sex, really. And then not enough kids, and we're gonna have a replacement problem. There's this idea like overpopulation is the problem, but it's not true at all. It's like a weird myth that somehow we're gonna have too many mouths to feed, but that's not true. Like, technically, if I want to do good for society, I should produce more than 2 children. I need to produce above the replacement rate. So, and I know it's like counterintuitive, but it's true. Like, look it up. We need to be producing more children, so it's almost like the right thing to do for me. And yeah, carbon footprint, blah, 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 whatever. My carbon footprint out here is tiny, so if you're living in a city, think about your carbon footprint. Whatever. Having children is more important than dealing with climate change. We have to continue the species. And the cool thing is when I raise kids, like I'm obsessed with building things and obsessed with science and technology. And I'm going to pass that down to my children, and maybe one of them will figure out how to capture carbon out of the atmosphere, Maybe one of them. All I'm going to do is pass on my knowledge to them, and I know that I can raise some intelligent children. I know I can. Athletically capable as well. I'm going to put tracks all over. Like, look at this pathway I have here. I'm going to put because I have a big hill, I'm going to have a track that goes from one corner all the way to the top, and then I'm going to have exercise equipment up there. And like every day or every other day, I'm going to take my kids and be like, all right, we're running from here, up this hill, back down, up again. We're going to time it. I'm going to track your progress. Here's a pull-up bar. Here's a spot to do push-ups. Just keep kids in shape, right? Get them running around. Have a little jungle gym. Have things to play on. Kids love to play on stuff. They love it. And it gets them, the physical play is what keeps you in shape, and it's what makes you intelligent. The ability to know how to use your body, solve problems physically, that, and then building things. Like, hey, we're going to build a shed today, and you're going to do half the work. Like, I'm just going to hand the tools to them and be like, build this. Or we can build like wild things. Like, I'm going to put a little hydroelectric generator on the creek right here. I'm going to put solar panels up. There's a million things to do and to build, and they're all a kind of lesson to a child, no matter what age. And so, I don't really know what the point of this video is. I'm trying to I feel like what I'm always trying to do is sell the idea, because I've had this conversation and I'm always thinking, all right, I gotta convince this girl to have kids, which means like, I never get far enough into the relationship. Like, this isn't a thing that I would put up front. I wouldn't just do this on the first date. I'm not about to try and go into deep subjects and try to like, there's a certain extent of where I'm trying to like change her mind and like enact my will upon hers, basically get her goals to line up with mine, which means it's kind of a negotiation. It's going to have to be that, but that can't happen early on. That has to happen when the relationship gets more serious. But it takes away my motivation to enter a serious relationship when I know that this conversation is coming, when I know that it's like she doesn't want what I want. So, how am I supposed to enter a serious relationship with that? I've been told I need to join a church. That's where I will meet these kinds of women. I've been to these ceremonies, I've been to mass and to Sunday services, and they can be pretty boring. But if I gotta sit in a spot for an hour a week to put myself in a position to meet the one, then it's worth it. It's worth it. So maybe I think about it too much, but I mean, can you blame me? Every guy thinks about this. Everybody thinks about this. How are you gonna find that person? I'm gonna make one about narcissism. I think this channel is extremely narcissistic, just by definition. Okay, yeah. Bye.